Welcome to the Self Revolution podcast. This is your weekly reminder to wake up to who the fuck you really are. I'm your host, Breanna Rae Blaney, and it is truly my honor to guide you on this journey of self-revolution and evolution. Join me as one by one, we collectively wake up to create a more harmonious, enlightened, and fulfilled world. Welcome back to the Self Revolution podcast. I am so grateful that you're here today, and I'm joined by a dear friend of mine, Ashlyn. She is a mentor, a coach, a wellness practitioner, and also the co-founder of a wellness festival, Misalignment. And she has worked with a number of women, helping them build their own businesses. And today we're going to be talking about a topic that is near and dear to both of our hearts, which is really about connecting to your own inner knowing, your sense of intuition. I think so much of the modern day society and just the to-do lists and all of the pressure that we can often feel, it can be really challenging to stay connected with who we really are. And so today we're going to talk about some of those challenges that modern society poses, some of the things that we have both learned from our personal journey in this space, and then really dive into this concept of Soma, what it is, how to reconnect with your own inner knowing, and we'll leave you with a few tangible tips around how to actually start doing that. So with that, Ashlyn, when you think about, your own journey, and we've talked about this, I think a lot in our shared journey, how has some of the challenges of the modern world, the pressure, I think often the masculine way of defining success by output and achievement, how has that really shown up for you in your own life?
Well, when I first started my business, which was really led from the heart and from my intuition and from like something I was very passionate about, which was helping women lose weight and get healthy and love their bodies. It was really beautiful. And I also got caught up in all of the goals. Like, okay, I want this to be a 6-figure business. And then I want it to be a multiple 6-figure business. And I had all these external goals, and I was kind of following these templates of success that didn't really mean so much to me. And what I really cared about was just helping people and feeling fulfilled in my own life. And I remember my business was very successful because I was really I was pushing, I was grinding. And I remember kind of sitting back and hitting, I hit 6 figures in my business, and I kind of was like, okay, what did that goal actually bring me, and what did that actually mean to me? It wasn't, it was I was following these arbitrary goals of success that didn't really have a center in my heart. Yeah. And it drove me to sacrifice things like my health and my body. And I got really, really burnt out doing all of that, even though it was something that I really loved doing. I truly loved it. And I do look back on that time as such a beautiful, sweet, just passionate time of my life. But it really burnt me out. And so I think that, just to your question of how has society affected my kind of goals? It's I really had to step back and think about what is my why, and also what is my intuition really want, and what are my values, and then create my life and my business based off of those, instead of just based off of what my mind and what everyone else around me and what all of these other entrepreneurs were doing.
It's so, I think, easy to get caught up in that. And in so many ways, that's just how we are raised in today's society, and what we see from our parents and from our friends and social media, just all of the kind of the hitting these next milestones. And that's what success means. And I had a mentor of mine this week, actually. He said, what happens if you win? And I loved that question that was posed to me, because it really was around that sense of like, well, what happens if you actually win? Like, what does that actually feel like to you? And is that something that is exciting to you, or is it not? And, you know, for me, when I think about my journey with this, I've hit so many different places in my life where I have been pushing and pushing and pushing. And I'm a very type A type of person that loves to check off a to-do list. But it's similar to your journey. I've sacrificed things in the pushing of doing that. And it's really taken me a long time to realize that there is actually like a different way to do that. And so, you know, just to share a couple of examples of that, I remember just working so hard in college, or just even growing up. And then I got to my first corporate job and I walked in the door. And after 6 months, I was like, is this really what I had worked for? Why was this fulfilling to me? And even when I started my first company, Raywear, I had poured so much of my financial resources into that. And I was burning like the candle at both ends around the clock and built this thing. And it wasn't what I had really wanted. And that question of like, well, what happens if you actually win? What happens if you build this business that you really thought you wanted and that you loved? And then you get to this point and you're like, wait, something doesn't feel right. And that can be like a really challenging feeling. So how have you kind of thought about, like, how did you realize that there was that sense of disconnection?
Well, I mean, my body told me, and I think you and I both experienced, like, both experienced acne. We both went through really bad gut issues, and it was not only was my business affecting my own health, but my business was also built around something that was affecting women's health. Like, it was, you know, I was a personal trainer, and then I was really into the fitness world. And so it was all what I had learned was like, more is better, move more, eat less, you know, in pursuit of trying to attain the perfect body type. And it was so motivated by that. I was very motivated by that because that's what I felt like was valued. I felt like my worth was valued in how I looked, which is, you know, looking back, it's like, that's so sad. I feel so compassionate for that piece of myself. But so, you know, it was all built on that. And so at a certain point, my body was like screaming at me, just like headaches, fatigue. I remember being so tired that I struggled to like, I didn't really want to go on a walk. I mean, like, just going on a walk was hard for me because not only was I pushing so hard on my business, I was also pushing my body really hard because I needed to be this perfect body type. And so it was really my body that told me, like, through the pain and through all of the symptoms. And I got to a certain point where I was literally in so much pain that I was like, if this is what it takes to be successful, then I don't really want it. Like, and that kind of started my journey of like putting my body first, and really prioritizing my own like vitality and energy and mental health above what my body looked like on the outside. And I went through, like, I gained like 15, 20 pounds through that process. I stopped working out in a gym for 2 years, and I kind of like, you know, pendulum swung the other way. But it was very necessary for me to slow the fuck down and actually tune into what did my body need from me, and also like what did my and really like open my heart and heal my heart and heal a lot of these like self-esteem and self-worth wounds that I had. And I feel like it's like there's a lot of different aspects of ourself, but for the purpose of this, like, let's say there's two aspects of self. There's the conditioned self, and then there's the soul, the spiritual self, the whatever you want to call it. Yeah. And a lot of times I think the problem is that we build our lives from our conditioned self. And inherently, like, that's not going to lead us to a life of fulfillment because it isn't our choice. Like, it isn't us choosing that. It's just a reaction to how we've been conditioned from our childhood, through our parents, through society. And so like the first step to that was me realizing like, it's like, okay, like what is driving me is not really like the true soul. Like it's not the true soul. And so it's like, then I had to go through a process of what is that soul? Like who is she and what does she want? And like, that's a never ending journey. But I really feel like that's like the crux of the problem is like we build our lives from conditioned self and not from like our true heart and soul. And so I think the most important thing that we can do in this life is to decondition ourselves and really feed the aspect of ourselves that is ineffable and that is really hard to even describe, but that is it's the same energy that like makes the plants grow. Like the plants just grow, right? And the plants are alive. It's like it's the same thing that's inside of us, but it's not our mind and it's not our conditioned self.
I like to think about it so much more as a remembering of what's there versus like a relearning. I mean, it's a relearning, but it's not something that's new. It really is like coming back and taking away what's not real.
Exactly.
Versus like having to add more things in. But it's scary at sometimes to sit back and to try and really think about all of the ways that you've been conditioned. Because it's like it's a never ending process. And I know throughout my journey, it's like at every step I realize these other ways that I have been replicating other people's ways of doing things and not realizing that it wasn't mine. And in so much of my journey being in the corporate world and working in finance and being surrounded by men, so much of that for me has been replicating very masculine ways of doing things. And so much of that energy is the push and the fight and the grit and like more is better. And in so many ways, our society is just driven by a very masculine approach. And so much of what, we're talking about in our journey has been like having to remember that there's another way of doing things and that there's a unique way that you can start to flow through your lives. And I guess I want to kind of hit back on what you were saying in terms of just the day-to-day experience. Like you talked a lot about the pain, like the challenges that you were feeling on a day-to-day. Like what are some of those really tangible ways that that you're maybe not living in connection with your inner knowing?
Yeah, I mean, like first I would say like, how's your health? Like that's just like a very easy indicator of whether you're in alignment or not. It's like, how's your health? Like, do you have a lot of energy? Do you wake up in the morning feeling refreshed and excited for life? How do you sleep? Are you overthinking? What's the quality of your thoughts? Are you in like a constant like thought loop of like, I don't know what I want and do I know I think for me it was I also went through like a depressive period of just like really not feeling much at all. And yeah, I think those are some of the indicators. And I always come back to the body because it's just like it knows, like our body is ancient and our mind is really like not as, our mind's only been developed over the last like 40 to 100,000 years, and our body is like millions of years old. And so it's picking up on things that we can't logically understand. And so I think it's like, if let's say every time you are about to go to work, you all of a sudden feel like just a sadness or a depression, or your energy leaves your body, or you feel a tenseness, like that's a sign. And so I think I really think that's how it shows up in the day to day. Like, do I feel, and I don't think we're always supposed to just feel happy, but I think there's a level of like energy and life force that we have that it's like, is your current life like feeding that life force, or do you feel like it's dissipating that life force? What about you? Like how does it show up for you when you feel like you're out of alignment?
I definitely resonate with everything from the body, like you, acne, like so much. I've had so much puffiness. I mean, both of us on our health journeys, bloating. I mean, but even my face. I mean, when I look back at pictures,
puffiness from cortisol, because
totally
it's stress.
The stress.
Yeah.
Like, and I literally look like a different person, and it's wild how insane that is. And I used to think that it was like just the way that my face looked, and it wasn't, it's like, and I see it now in other women and other people, and it kills me because you can physically see that. And often you can even see it physically in people's eyes. I see that now, like this sense of depression can be like so seen, that heaviness in your eyes. And so the body for me has certainly been a massive indicator. And now I feel so much more in tune with my body, where I can tell, okay, my energy levels are getting too depleted, and how do I fill myself back up? That's such like a massive tool that I use now to ensure that I'm staying on a path that feels good to me. But also a huge thing has been the kind of chaos. Like, creating more chaos. It's like you start
such a good one.
You're in an agitated state, and then you're just going to create more chaos in your life. Like, I remember when I was, building Raewear to some degree, I just kept digging myself deeper into a hole because I was so stressed. I wasn't feeling aligned. I was feeling this sense of disconnection, and I was just making matters worse for myself. And I didn't have I had lost some connection. I've been doing yoga and having a daily practice for so many years, really for the past decade, but there's been years in there where I've lost touch with that. And really, like, after Raewear, that was a huge part of my journey, where I said, like, never again. Like, I saw how I had got that, not having that daily practice allowed me to get so far away from my sense of connection with myself. And in turn, it led me to make a lot of poor decisions in my life. And that's like painful to face.
Yeah, the chaos thing. I think that's a good one, where, because it's like your subconscious, which is running 95% of your life, like it wants to be aligned. And so it's like there all these situations will have, like, you'll get yourselves into these situations that are kind of like an alarm, like it's like an alarm.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, like shift something, or like, hey, like, it's like you're in enough pain, like it's like pain, and then like enough of that, and finally you're like, okay, like this isn't freaking working. Like we gotta shift.
And pain is such an indicator. And we were talking about that in last week's episode around like the art of welcoming pain, and pain being a teacher. And it really is. It's a wake up call in many times of your life. And those are the chances where you have the choice. And I feel so passionately about like trying to help people before they get to that point. Like, often we're forced to change because it's gotten so bad. And sometimes that's what happens, and that's okay. But I also think that there's an opportunity to like cultivate the awareness to catch it before the like fire 100%. Is fully burnt and like you've destroyed your health. And it's like, hey, no, you can do this now. I'm starting to feel inklings of these things, and I want to take action now to be preventative versus I hit this breaking point and now I've got to like really realign everything.
You can get so in tune with yourself that you can feel in the moment when things are not in alignment for you. Like recently, I remember I was having a conversation with someone, and I felt like the energy was leaving my body. Like I just noticed it, and like my body was like, like this conversation, this isn't, whatever we're talking about isn't serving me right now. And then I was able to just be like, hey, I'm gonna excuse myself from this conversation. Instead of just like, and that's just a tiny example, but it's like the more you get in tune with your own like energy, your own soma, like it's like you can in the moment just redirect. Like, okay, this conversation isn't serving me. This relationship isn't serving me. Like this job isn't serving me. Like redirect.
And that is the source of your greatest power. I mean, to be able to have that awareness to redirect in those micro moments, and to know when something is true for you versus when it's false. I mean, that's the trust that's built. And same, I guess it's when you become so in tune with yourself to some degree, you start to like read bullshit in others really, really quickly. It's like the radar is immediately, and it probably drives Michael insane. but I do that all of the time. You know, it's like I can feel if there's a word or an energy that's off in terms of the way that you're saying. And you can start to, I mean, we can even do that with each other. It's like, no, you're saying that you want to do this, but I don't really feel it from you. And then you're like, okay, that's BS. Like, let's get back into alignment and let's make, exactly. Come back to the truth.
Yeah.
So once you realize this for yourself, Ashlyn, what did you do? Like, what were some of the things that you tried to get like and realize that maybe there was a different way?
Well, I think our first impulse to fix something, at least if for me in my past, has been to look outside of myself. So it's like, okay, can I pay someone to help me with this? Can I like, is there a program that's going to fix this for me? Like, what's going to work? What's the strategy? Like, I remember my business was like tanking because I was out of alignment. And I do think that the first thing I did was like, I'm like, okay, well, what's the business strategy? What am I doing wrong? Like, am I doing content wrong? Like, what's going on? And I tried some of those things. And I think that ultimately the best thing that I did was to, it took me years to go through this. And I don't think it has to take people years, which is like why we have created things to support with that.
Totally.
Because of what we've learned. But like, yeah, it's really just like slowing down and like determining like what are all these different aspects of myself, and like what are all these different voices in my head, and like really just going through this process of getting to know myself. And instead of feeling like there's an expert out there that's going to like have the solution to my problem and like know how to fix the thing that I'm trying to fix, it's like actually learning that I am my best source of information and guidance. I am my best mentor. And of course, there's people out there that can support us with that. And I'm about that. I'm a coach. But what I've learned is that the main goal of someone who's guiding you is literally to reflect questions back to you to uncover the information that you actually know yourself. And that's how I do my coaching now. And so for me, that was, like I tried all the different things, and ultimately what really worked was finding mentors that weren't about like trying to solve the problem. It was about helping me to uncover what my intuition was and taking action from that place. And also really like healing my nervous system, to be honest. Like that's a huge part of it is slowing down and getting out of fight or flight, because it's really hard to be in it's actually impossible to be in touch with your intuition when you are in fight or flight, because in fight or flight or freeze or fawn, whatever, you're inherently trying to survive. Like you're in reaction to something, and your intuition was all about creating. And so I think, so that was a big part of it too. Like really like healing physical body, nervous system, and then doing the inner work and meditating and all of the things that helped me to decondition.
Yeah. I love what you said about like the seeking things outside of yourself, and then realizing that really you are your own greatest teacher. And how do you find guides in your life that empower you to realize that? And that in essence is like the journey of yoga. I mean, that's the journey of self-realization. And how do you come home to yourself? And how do you understand who you really are and connect with these various layers of yourself? And I always say that is the most effective way to change anything in your life, because it is the common denominator in every single facet of your life. Like you are what is creating your relationship, your business, all of those things. And if you aren't in alignment with yourself and you don't have a clarity on the direction, then all of those things, like you might be creating things that are out of alignment for you. And then you go back and you look at a day and it's like, well, why did I put all of this energy and effort into something that wasn't aligned for me? So it's like, take action now. If that is you and you aren't sure and you've been kind of creating from that place of stuckness, or you're just kind of creating from that place of survival, or trying to replicate, like, I just see everyone else looks happy on Instagram doing these things, so why don't I replicate what they do? That's not it. It's not it. So much of my journey has been realizing that my power is in my uniqueness, and that is going to be unique to me. No one can tell me my own truth, and I'm going to have to discover that for myself. And that's a journey, but it doesn't have to take people so long. And there is more of a process to it, and there is a structure that you can really follow and go to, and you don't have to kind of grasp at all of these external things and spend all of this money kind of trying to throw yourself at these various solutions. When you really heal yourself from the inside out, it can be much easier. There can be so much more flow.
Yeah, and I have so much compassion for people who are, in a place of like survival because of the, it's hard to be, especially like single women. Like, I don't know, it's the way that our society is set up, it is very individualized. And while that is beautiful, and it's just a response to the way that our culture has been, and just how our species is evolving. But like, it's also just we're put on these little islands of like, you need to do everything by yourself. And I just think for women, it's hard to be, for men too, but the world's been built on masculine structures, so they thrive a little easier, let's just say. But for women, it's, we like have to survive. We have to make money. We have to like pay bills. Like, we have to feed ourselves. Like, and so sometimes, again, it goes back to the survival mode. Like, sometimes you sacrifice parts of yourself and like because you have to. Like, I have a lot of compassion for that. And it doesn't have to be that way, because abundance does exist. We're just creating all these limitations around it. But if you are in that place, like, just know, like, we have so much compassion for that, because like, I've been there, and it doesn't have to be that way. But like, if you've gotten yourself that way, it might just be in response to like surviving in this world. And yeah, it's like, it's hard out there, and it's okay. Like, sometimes we adopt, like, we're like, oh, like, I need to make money, so I'm gonna just do this thing that like my parents did, or that I see is working, or this masculine thing so that I can survive. And so it's hard out there.
It is, and it's natural. And I think it's a natural response to do that. And we do have to survive. Yeah. And I think that there's a very real aspect of, you do need money. Like, you do have to work. Yep. Like, that's the reality of living in today's world. And that's not a bad thing. I think you said it's not your fault, and it goes back to the conditioned self. And it's like, yeah, those things aren't necessarily your fault. You might have had a lot of those belief systems from ancestors you had nothing to do with. And, but it's still now your responsibility to create the awareness and to cultivate a choice to go down a different path. And so I think, something that we both really share in terms of a value is this idea of being able to connect to your intuition and cultivate a mindset, but also take action. Yes. And that there really is a beauty in being able to have a deep appreciation and understanding of ancient wisdom and things like yoga and Ayurveda or traditional Chinese medicine or whatever it may be, but also pair that with the realities of the world today.
Yes.
So,
just to touch on that, it's like, we are in a time period where women have choice. And so, let's say we've had to survive, but like, we don't have to anymore. Like, we can thrive. Like, the world is now actually set up to where women can thrive. And like, we have a lot of choices. And because we have a lot of choices, it becomes more important than ever to know like who you really are and what is in alignment for you and what your values are and what your intuition really wants to create to thrive in the world, because we have that ability now. So there is a lot of information, there is a lot of choices, and so that's why it is of utmost importance. Like, we don't actually just have to survive anymore. We can really thrive.
That's the massive opportunity in many ways that is available to us. But the question then becomes, how do you choose? How do you know? How do you know what is true for you? And in this wide array of choices, which is really empowering. Like, I actually feel like there's never probably been a better time to be a woman. Yeah. It's like, it's so exciting to me in so many ways that we have this opportunity. And I've tried to really view that as an opportunity, even working in very male dominated cultures, that there's an opportunity to bring those forces together and bring men into that equation and to lead from a new way and to show society how we can start to lead from a new way of being that doesn't have to be so push all the time, that there is an opportunity to flow. So how do you actually know, Ashlyn? And I mean, this really kind of gets into the heart of this concept of Soma in your intuition, this nectar of life. And we can talk a little bit about like what the word Soma actually means. But how do you actually know?
Well, that is a question that could take ages to answer, but at the core of it, it is learning to bypass the noise of the external and just deeply getting to know yourself. And I know that just sounds so abstract and like, okay, that's not really, that's not a lot to hold on to, but there's ways to do that through so many different practices and workshops and all of these things, and meditation and yoga. And also, again, this is my kind of like cornerstone, but the body.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't know, like, if you're not in touch with your body's sensations of like, what gives me energy, what lights me up, what makes me contract, what makes me feel tense, what makes me feel like my body is like tingling with aliveness. Like, if you're not in touch with that, and if you've had like trauma or things in the past that you've had to repress that, then how are you supposed to know what is your purpose and what am I curious about? And what turns me on and what is my intuition telling me? Like, because all of that is coming through the body. Like, the body is a messenger for that. And we can live like so much up here and think that we can logically figure it out. Like, let me logically figure out what my purpose is. Let me logically figure out what turns me on in life and what I should be doing next. But to me, it's like, let's get in touch with the heart and the intuition, and then through the mind, use strategy and problem solving to materialize that into reality. And so it's like, this is your compass, and your body is your compass, and your mind gets to be the tool for which you can realize your mission.
Well, I've gotten that tingling sensation. You get that tingling sensation in your body. And they say that often, sometimes that's really associated with like a yes. Yeah, it's like when you know something is true, like really deeply true, you get that full body like tingling sensation. And I think it's so cool to just start to notice, start to cultivate more of an awareness of like, okay, wait, when am I getting these sensations? Yes. What do they tell? I just got one, and
it comes down to that. It can be that simple. And like, think about when you, like, let's say you're allergic to a food, or there's like a fruit that's rotten. Like, that, like, that sensation of when it's like a contraction of like it's kind of like like, it's like, what is that? Like, it's like your actual body is reacting to something that is not good for you. And a lot of times the reactions are more subtle than that. But that is, it's like, you can, like, your body is telling you what's a yes and what's a no. And it took me so many years to realize that.
Yeah.
Because I was just living up here. And it's so funny. I had a conversation with my dad yesterday, And he's been on a whole journey, which has been so beautiful. But he was just telling me, he's like, I'm shocked that I have this voice inside my head that's telling me lies all the time. And I'm like, yeah, it's true. Like our mind is actually not telling us the truth most often. But you know what doesn't lie?
Yeah.
This little vessel right here.
I mean, there's a reason when you think about the different stages of yoga and the 8 limbs of yoga, they're ordered in a certain way. And asana, physical yoga practice, comes before, breathing, and comes before doing all of the mindset work and meditation. It's because you kind of got to get your channel clear and open and flowing to be able to really connect and drop yourself out of your mind. That's why often it's a lot easier for people to meditate or do visualization exercises and things like that after they've actually moved their physical body and the whole mind-body connection and all of that. So
that's literally, that's the physical, like what the modern world, like what America knows as yoga is so that you can like meditate and get into your consciousness. Like it's not a workout.
No, it's not. It's the journey.
But it is a physical practice. It's a physical meditation.
Yeah.
It's designed to help you go deeper.
Yeah, there's so many. I mean, that's the whole philosophy of yoga is really a philosophy, a way of living life. And there's so many parallels to that. And that's really what we've brought into in so many ways into both of our work. So Soma, the word really means this nectar of life, and it can be associated with this sense of immortality, and it's like kind of has this mystical aspect to it. And the word, the concept of Soma comes from Vedic philosophy, which is where yoga and Ayurveda come from. And kind of if you've heard of like the concept of yin or yang or dark or light, in Ayurveda, it's this concept of Agni and Soma. And Agni is this fire, and it's like this burning, and it's much more of the masculine energy and the force and all of that. And then the Soma is really this softness, this ease, this sensation of knowing. And it's known and associated with this sense of immortality. It's because when you can really get connected with your own inner Soma and get in with the flow of life, like there's nothing else. That's where true fulfillment really comes from. And so there is this need for both, right? It's like to be able to connect to the Soma, you have to be able to go through the flames. You talked about the conditioning, right? In order to move through the conditioning, often we need some fire to like burn through that, to release those patterns that aren't serving you anymore. And then once you've done that, you're able to actually sit with yourself and be with yourself and to feel like that sensation of what it really means.
Love. And that's so in line with our retreat that we are doing, which is like, we are working with the fire.
Yes.
And then we're working with the Soma.
Yes.
Like our retreat is not going to be all Soma softness, baby. No. Yes. We're going to be working with the fire.
100%. And that's, I think we both recognize like the importance of the integration of both of those, and the integration of, yes, the softness and the mindset and the flow, but also like the need to take action. And like we do need to be living out here, and we need to make money, and we need to do those things.
Yes.
So to wrap us up, and close out this episode, Ashlyn, really want to talk about the tangible tools for people. Like what are 2 things, like 1 to 2 things that people can leave with to actually connect to their intuition? And then obviously we've got a retreat that we can touch on too. So, what is maybe 1 tool that you've really used in your life that someone can leave here today and utilize to reconnect with themselves?
Okay. The first thing that comes to mind is literally like doing a body compass exercise. And so, this could look like when you are in conversations with people, when you are making decisions, when you are going to work, when you are doing all of these different aspects of just like your day-to-day life. Really like take one day, and you can do this in different ways. You can journal about the past. things like that. But I think for the purpose of this, like take a day and really notice, like your whole intention for that day is notice what are my body sensations? Like notice like when things are a yes, what that feels like. And notice when things are a no, what that feels like. You can actually kind of like, you know, like something that I do with my clients is I'll take them through a visualization of like, okay, visualize something that you know for certain is a no. Like, you know for certain this is out of alignment for you. This could be like visualize like an ex-boyfriend, like, you know, so something that is just like such a no for you, and like visualize that. And then like, what is your body doing? What is your body doing? And then think about something in your life that you know for certain is a yes. Like, you know, this is an alignment for you, and focus on what your body is doing and feeling and telling you. Like, what's your heart rate like? How do you feel like your energy is like expanding or contracting? Like, how do you feel? Like, do you feel warm or cool in your body? Like, all of these different things. And so I think like that would be one thing.
Love that.
Because that's like really the basis of how your intuition really speaks to you in kind of like a knowing or a feeling or a direct, just like a kind of spark of inspiration. Everyone's is a little bit different.
Yep.
And so I would also, you know, in addition to the body compass, I would also like go through your journey and think about, where was my intuition guiding me? Because like I feel like we can look past on our journey, we can see what decisions like led to something good and like really supportive and what didn't, and you can kind of identify like how did my intuition speak to me then? Like, how did that feel and what did that look like? And that can give you an idea of like what is that feeling and how is that speaking, because it can be hard to differentiate between our intuition and like our anxiety.
Fear. Yeah.
And fear. And so what I often say is like the mind, the language of the mind is words, and the language of the body is sensation. And I think that the language of our intuition could be feelings, it can be a knowing. And so getting to know like, what are these different, what is my conditioned self, what is fear, and then what is intuition. And there's a lot of, you know, there's so many practices, but I think those are a few ways that I would say could be good. And then
love that.
Obviously meditation.
Yeah, totally.
Like that, I mean, that's like foundational.
Yes.
And I hate to bring that up because it's like obvious, like we all know that that's good, but
it's a process. And I think like meditation is a whole topic for another day to get into that. But it's like, it's all of these things are helping bring you towards a meditative state and kind of like almost preparing your body to really be in that full kind of more state of meditation. And the only one I would just add as something that's easy, accessible to everyone is getting into nature. Yeah. I mean, we are nature. And so it's just like allowing yourself the space to just walk on the beach, hear the waves, feel it in your feet. What does that sensation feel like? And how can you just turn off all of the external things to be in nature and see what happens to your body, see how it starts to kind of recalibrate again, and what that feeling really feels like. I know if you like walk into a forest and it's really fresh, you smell and you kind of get that like wave feeling of like, that deep exhale, and it kind of starts to bring you back to that state. So that's another just really tangible one for people to leave with and to be able to start to kind of feel that. And it's a journey. It's not always easy. Like that whole delineation of intuition versus fear is something that I think we still, you know, we're still in that sometimes. We're still in like, okay, wait. But that's the beauty of being able to crystallize further and further and further, and starting to just continue to be in that place where every little decision, it's not this huge back and forth and argument with yourself. You know, this is a yes, this is a no, this is going to bring me towards the path of really my soul, my dharma and purpose in life, or this is going to bring me away from it. So Ashlyn, we were sitting here on this couch a few months ago.
Talking about very similar things, like we always do.
Talking about this and like how it was playing in our lives and some of the decisions that we were trying to make in our business and in our relationships. And we've both been working with women, but also serving, men too in a variety of capacities, but just really trying to sit with what was fueling our soul. And it wasn't even, I think that we were really trying to birth something at the time, but it really just came up that we were feeling so called to create a space together for women to feel this for themselves. And really hitting on what you said earlier is that it doesn't have to take you so long. That like, I wish that there was something that I could have gone to 10 years ago that put me in a community of other women who were feeling the same thing. And so I wasn't feeling so alone, that I wasn't feeling like, okay, I'm the only one that's like struggling with this. Why does this feel so hard to me? And so that is really how the Soma retreat was born and was birthed.
Yeah. And one thing that I didn't mention is a big part of what helped me heal and get out of my really stuck state when I was going through that was literally I would go and dance on a beach at this beautiful workshop that my friend Julia created. And it was all about getting into your body and like feeling it in your body. And like I was like upgrading my nervous system during that time. And so I feel really, really passionate about experiences that are upgrading your nervous system in real time, because I love coaching, and I'm also huge about doing experiences through coaching, and I know that you do the same with the sound and really getting into a meditative state and really affecting your nervous system on a visceral level, so that it's again just not all up here. Like it doesn't all have to be up here. It's mind, body, soul, heart, soul, like all the things. And so I think that's really where this retreat came from, where I at least just feel so deeply about creating experiences. Like it's an experience that helps you transform. And I think, we want to hit on everything. Like we have this epic experience planned, and we are hitting the mind. Like we have workshops around the mind. We have workshops around the heart. We have workshops around the body and the nervous system. And we're going to get into nature, and we're really going to have this like all encompassing experience that it's like, there is no other option but to leave it fucking transformed, in my opinion.
100%.
There's just no way to not leave a different person. Like there's just no way.
I agree. And experiences has been huge for me. I mean, all of my work is experiential and focused on that, because that is the fastest way to integrate something in your life. If you experience it for yourself and you know it to be true, you're going to take that forward. If someone tells you to do something, good luck. Like you might do it or you might not. But if you experience it, if I feel it in my own body and my own heart and my own soul, that I know that this is the right thing for me to do. I just experienced what it felt like to drop out of my mind and into my heart. And I experienced like what it felt like to be in this alive state that I maybe didn't know was possible. Then I have now opened up a new layer of myself. And the other thing that I think is just huge is the aspect of community. I mean,
oh my God, yeah.
Connecting with other women. I know that like our relationship has been huge for me in that way of being able to really feel held and feel seen by another woman, and also
and to be a mirror and to be reflecting like here's where I think you're playing small or here's where I think you're lying to yourself.
Yeah. It's huge.
Yeah.
And I think that that's been like such a beautiful birth of our friendship, has been being able to be like that real transparent mirror for each other and also just show what's possible.
Totally. And we met at a retreat essentially, which is amazing. So 100%. I mean, like we're doing this because it's so aligned for both of us. Like it's truly from like the heart. And because so it's just, you never know with these experiences are just so life-changing, and I've been to so many different experiences, and I feel like that's really where I've upgraded. Like I've done tons of life coaching and therapy and all the things. And when I look at the things that have really like changed my life, it's experiences. Like it's connecting with other women.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Ashlyn, thank you so much for being on Self Revolution today. And as you're kind of letting all of this gel and sink in, I hope that you really kind of come back to this sense that you know, and that you have the capacity and ability to really connect with yourself and to move through the fire, move through that Agni and through the flames to really come back to a place of inner knowing and to create your life from that place. And that is a really, really beautiful place to live. And that it really is this journey of coming home to your Soma in your own inner essence. And that is, the way to just create a really beautiful, fulfilling life and to connect with other people in that same way, and how rewarding that is. So thank you again for being here with me today, and Ashlyn, and we both hope that you have just an amazing evening, day ahead, and are sending you so much love. So thank you so much.